What is good, you guys? Welcome back to the second episode of the Menace Sports Hub with your hosts, Eternal 316 and Ivor Reacts. What's good, Eternal?
What's going on, man? How you doing? Wow, we had one hell of a couple of weeks of sports, didn't we, man? A lot of
Oh
developments to talk
man,
about.
oh man, controversy left, right, and center. I love it.
All right, man. So I guess we could get started on what did you think of the Super Bowl, man? Because this is like the first time you've watched NFL Super Bowl, right?
Uh,
Am I mistaken?
yeah, this was the first time I ever sat down and watched the Super Bowl, and I was in for an absolute treat. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, right? I thought there'd be sacks going left, right, and centre, but only one sack in the game.
Only one sack in the game, bro. So yeah, yeah, both teams they played their hearts out. There was a lot of questionable calls, um, you know, for a couple of Eagles touchdowns. But I'm not going to sit here and gripe and complain. My team took an L. It is what it is. But yeah, man, that was one tough game to watch, man. One tough game to watch. I'm
I
not gonna
mean,
lie, it broke my heart.
I'm not gonna lie either. I mean, watching that game, I wasn't expecting it to be so fast paced, but Brady with the quick hands, Foles with the quick hands as well. I mean, it was mad.
It was mad. So I guess we could both agree that you know we both seem to have found a new sport that we love. Am I right? We both seem to have become fans of two sports that we've never seen before, but now we've become fans of it. At least I've become fans of a rugby. I don't know. Like, have you officially become a fan of NFL or?
Well, I mean, I gotta watch some more games. I'm excited to see what happens in this next season of NFL. I will be watching as many games as I can to keep myself focused on it. But after that first game, it's got me interested. It's keeping my attention span, which is good for any sport.
All right. All right, cool. I can respect that, man. Yeah, you just need to do a little more research and watch a few more games, and then you'll be able to determine whether you actually become a fan or not. I understand that. All right, man. So let's talk about the Super Bowl, bro.
I
The Eagles took the Lombardi Trophy. They became world champions of the NFL,
for the first
beating
time.
my team
For the
for the
first
first
time.
time in their city's history. Yes, they beat my team, the New England Patriots. Although speaking of this loss, I have to give all credit to where credit is due. To Philadelphia, they teared our defense to shreds, and wiped the floor offensive wise too. So all credit goes to Philadelphia. They are well deserved. Super Bowl champions, and I wish them luck next season.
Well, I'm
Uh,
gonna I'm gonna say, I mean, going into this game and that before it even started, there was a lot of people calling out how Nick Foles will be able to handle the pressure of playing a Super Bowl, but he seemed to handle it very well.
yeah, he seemed to have handled it extremely well, which is shocking because he was a. I don't know if you know this, but he wasn't the starter quarterback.
Nah,
He's
he came in
actually
as
a
a
backup
replacement.
quarterback.
He came in as a
Yeah,
replacement,
he's
didn't
a
he?
backup quarterback, and he took on Brady and won the Super Bowl. So hey, all credit to where credit is due. I don't know if Philadelphia. See, Philadelphia has a hard choice in their hands now because are they going to give the starting quarterback back to Wentz, or are they going to keep Foles as the starter quarterback? That's a huge decision to make now, considering Foles just took the title.
Yep, that's gonna be a huge decision, and also another huge decision. Like, are they going to be able to keep a hold of most of their team because contracts and everything could be coming up, and I mean, some of them had very great performances. They could be poached by another team.
Speaking of contracts coming to an end, have you heard of the turmoil that's going on in New England after losing the Super Bowl? Have you heard?
No, I haven't heard anything from that yet.
Okay, so let me explain what happened, okay?
Right.
Uh, Seconds before the Super Bowl start. Now, bear in mind, this is seconds before the Super Bowl started. This is not a week, not a day. not 2 days. This is seconds before the Super Bowl started.
Okay.
Bill Belichick, the head coach of the New England Patriots, decides to bench our best defensive corner for the entire game. And his name was Malcolm Butler. He was the best defensive player we had, and he benches him for the entire Super Bowl.
I did hear about the controversy, and they spoke about it in the game, and saying that Butler would be a key defensive player, and they don't understand why he's on the bench.
Exactly. And I don't know, and the reason why I bring this up is because he's now a free agent, which means any team could really pick him up now. Like, he's no longer with New England Patriots now.
So, do you think Belichick benched him because he wouldn't sign, renew his contract and that with the New England Patriots? You think that might have been a reason?
No. I honestly, I don't believe that, because Malcolm Butler loved playing for the New England Patriots. He loved playing for his team. He wanted to play in the Super Bowl, but for some insane reason they wouldn't let him. I honestly think that he was forced into free agency. That's what I'm thinking here. I don't know why. I still don't know all the ins and outs of it. But had Malcolm Butler played, I'm not saying that, he definitely would have turned the tide. I can't say that for a fact. But had he played, there might have been a chance for New England to make one defensive play that could have changed the game.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I mean, going from the games and that, it seemed that both offensive teams were completely on point and just ripping each other's defensive teams apart. But the thing that made the difference at the end was that little blitz on Brady towards the end, because Brady, it looked like he was starting to struggle with his throws a little bit. Maybe the injury to his hand was causing him a bit of jip. You don't know. I mean, only Brady knows for sure.
That I don't necessarily blame on Brady, because he was more blindsided because the offensive line couldn't hold the block. You know what I mean? The offensive line couldn't hold the Eagles player from blindsided Brady. So yeah, that one sack did change the game. I will agree with you that had the offensive line held Philadelphia's blitz, maybe Brady wouldn't have gotten sacked. Maybe not have fumbled that ball. All types of possibilities could have taken place.
And that is the way of sports. Anything can happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will say this as a closing statement as far as my team goes. The defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, for New England Patriots is now with the Detroit Lions. He's left and became a head coach for the Detroit Lions. So now we need a new defensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, he was going to become a head coach for the Colts, but apparently Robert Kraft had a secret meeting with him and he turned it down last minute. So Josh McDaniels is still with the New England Patriots, but Matt Patricia, our defensive coordinator, is now with the Detroit Lions. So we got to hire a new defensive coordinator.
All right, I'm gonna put this question to you now, because I know you're such a big Brady fan, and it's well documented how much of a Brady fan you are. Right. Do you think now is the right time for Brady to retire?
No. No. In fact, because the thing is with Brady is he feeds off of hate. That's the thing. And if anything, I think everybody, all the sports channels saying that Brady is done and Brady's not the greatest of all time. I think Brady should use that as actually fuel for the fire and use that as ammunition in the next season and take back the trophy title, then retire. That's what I would do. And plus, moments after Brady lost the Super Bowl, or Brady in New England lost the Super Bowl, he took a post interview And one of the interviewers asked him, "Do you think it's time for you to retire right now?" And he said, and I quote, "The game just ended. I need to process this loss, but I don't see any reason why I wouldn't return next season." End quote. So I don't think Brady is going to retire this season. I think what's going to happen is some changes are going to be made team-wise and in the organization. And through those changes, Brady is going to have a comeback. He's going to have a comeback and take back his title and use all the hate that people are using against him for fuel for the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. He's kind of going to be trying to use this negativity and as motivation to push forward and prove people wrong. I actually respect that.
I mean, that's what he does best. You know what I mean? That's what makes Tom Brady Tom Brady. You know, like he uses the hate as fuel. I mean, you've seen that with all the cheating allegations. You know, when people were claiming that, you know, the only way he could win titles is by cheating, but he took that as that negativity and won two Super Bowl titles, one against the Seahawks, the other against the Falcons. So I don't see Brady retiring. You know, I'm pretty sure real champions take losses with their wins. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They take their losses with their wins and they use that as fuel. So I don't see Brady retiring, at least not yet.
How many years have Brady got left on his contract? Because you might see that out, you know, at least to the bare minimum.
I think he has about 3 years left in his contract. And here's the thing. Look, even though Brady lost the Super Bowl, well, Brady didn't really lose the Super Bowl. The defense really lost the Patriots the Super Bowl. The offense kicked ass. You know, Brady and the offense kicked ass with the exception of that one fumble at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But Brady threw more passing yards than Nick Foles did in that game. Brady scored 3 touchdowns and even temporarily took the lead by 1 point. So,
I mean, let's go. He set a record as well for the Super Bowl, didn't he? Most yards thrown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, most yards thrown. So, despite his age and despite his loss, I don't see Brady retiring simply because of that one loss in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to want to use that as a comeback story, you know, because he is still the best quarterback in the game right now. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens next year.
Well, all I can say is good luck to Philadelphia Eagles for trying to maintain their championship, and good luck to the Patriots. Hopefully they can come back stronger next year, and maybe they can go on to get number 6 in the Belichick era. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's talk about the Wales versus Scotland game, man. Let's talk about it.
The opening round of the NatWest Six Nations, and what a contrast in gameplay. From what I saw in the Autumn Internationals, I had Scotland down as my dark horse. Even in the last episode of the podcast, I actually said I think Scotland might have enough to take the win. But I look like an absolute fool now. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, man, that was goddamn Wales was wiping the floor with Scotland, man. They just completely dominated Scotland, man. Scotland had some fight in them, but I gotta, you know, I just want to make it clear to the viewers, I did watch the Wales versus Scotland game. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see the 2 other games that happened this weekend because it wasn't on my cable. It wasn't on, I have DirecTV, so it wasn't on any of the channels that's on my subscription, you know, so I wasn't able to watch it. But I'm sure you'll catch me up to speed here, Mike, on what happened
unfortunately, you had to miss the Ireland France game for work. I think it was on Saturday.
Yeah, I watched. I missed the 2 other games, but I will say this: I really enjoyed rugby, man. I've officially become a fan of rugby. I really loved it. Like I predicted, it was a more extreme version of football. I have to admit, Wales just I don't know what it was, man, but Scotland's defense just could not hold Wales, man. Wales just ran up and down the field on Scotland, man, and scored several times. I think Scotland only scored once, right? Scotland only
Yeah.
scored once.
The final score was 34 points to Wales, 7 points to Scotland.
Yeah, like I said, man, Scotland's defense just could not hold Wales. Wales was wiping the floor with Scotland, man. So congratulations to your team, you know, that you guys won that round. But I'm assuming that you guys lost today, from what I'm hearing, right?
That was yesterday, and it's still,
Oh,
it hurts. It cuts me deep. It really does. How can we lose like that?
I feel your pain. I feel your. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about that loss, because you showed me. Mike actually showed me some highlights and a screw job that took place on Wales' side, and it was clear as day that Wales actually had a try, but for some insane reason the refs called it as not a try. I was shocked, man. That was crazy.
Scott, I think we'll get into that in a minute, but we gotta analyse the first round of games. So basically, what happened with the Wales and Scotland game? It was Scotland sticking to one plan only. They just kept going wide. Wales had it covered all the way, and every single time Wales was able to switch it up, play some fast ball, some fast paced, passes, little pops here and there, and there were people saying that Lee Halfpenny and he couldn't get over the game line anymore, and he went on to score 2 tries. I mean,
funny how that operates. It's funny how when people say someone can't do something, that same person ends up doing the exact opposite.
Well, I mean, Lee Halfpenny's taken more of the kicking role over the past couple of years. He's always had a big boot on him, and I think you saw that in the game as well. He was quite on point with his kicking. And to be fair, Scotland, they just needed to switch things up a bit, because they kept going with the same game plan all the time. Wales knew it was coming, and Scotland, when they were under pressure, they tried forcing the game, tried forcing these little passes and that, causing mistakes. Wales able to capitalise and get over the game line. Turnovers easy. It was just Scotland didn't show up. They had one game plan and they weren't able to execute that game plan because Wales knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So,
hey, listen. Okay, so while I was watching the game, there was a question that I've been meaning to ask you, but I figured, you know what? Now that we're on the podcast, I might as well ask you now, just to educate myself.
Okay.
I noticed during the Scotland versus Wales game, you guys huddle differently. I don't know exactly what it's called, so you're gonna have to educate me here. But there's moments in the rugby game where both teams are kind of grouped together and they're like playing a tug of war, I guess.
That is called a scrum.
A scrum. Okay, what exactly happens in a scrum, just for me to be educated here?
Right, basically a scrum will happen if someone drops the ball and it goes forward, because the ball is not allowed to go forward. That's why every single time they've dropped the ball, plays usually stop straight away and go straight to the scrum. And in the scrum you have your 8 forwards from both sides, kind of how you just said, huddled up together, right? You got your loose head prop, tight head prop, and your hooker on the front row. The hooker's in the middle. The scrum half, he will feed the ball into the middle of the scrum, and the 2 hookers are the only ones that are allowed to chuck their feet forward to try and smash the ball back towards the back of their scrum. And the only ones in the scrum that are allowed to put hands on the ball is the number 8, who is right at the back. So you might have seen a couple of number 8s picking up the ball from the back of the scrum and having a little run with it. But usually...
Okay, so that's what the players in the back are for, right? I guess the players in the back are the ones that have to grab that ball, right?
Well, the only ones who can actually pick up the ball, really, are the number 8 and the scrum half, who feeds the ball in, because he'll go back, the scrum half will look around and see what the options are, and he'll pass the ball out. Or if there's like a little gap there, you'll see the number 8 have a little peek and then if he sees the chance, he's gonna pick it up, and then he'll try and get through on the blind side or the open side, wherever the space is, and he'll then try to make something happen. He'll offload to the scrum half who can keep the play going, so on like that. But the whole idea of the scrum is basically a battle of the forwards. I mean, if you dominate the scrums, you're gonna be in great stead to win the game.
Okay, so basically, I guess in this scrum, as you guys call it, whoever dominates the other team in this scrum basically has control of the ball, right?
Yes.
Or gets possession of the ball.
Yes, usually, yeah.
Okay.
And you see the pack weights as well. I mean, I think the Welsh forwards at a combined weight is just under 900 kilos from 8 guys alone. And both squads are usually evenly matched in terms of weight. I think the English pack has got the heaviest, being just over 900 kilos. So this is quite a challenge now, because you got a lot of guys now trying to push the other team back, but try and also not hit the ground, not really turn the direction of where they're going with the scrum, because they can get a penalty awarded against them for that. But as you see, in the scrum, there's a lot of heavy guys in there. There's a lot of big men in there. They're going, they're pushing, they're just trying to dominate the other pack, which is a key part of the game. If you can dominate the scrum, then you are in good stead to go on and dominate possession, dominate territory, and keep the ball flowing in your team's advantage.
Okay. So I kind of have a touchy question.
Okay.
It's a really touchy subject regarding rugby, and I don't mean to, try to throw. I guess I'm not trying to throw any curveballs or try to make this about I'm not trying to spur this away from sports into a whole different matter, but there's just something that I noticed while watching this game, and I just got to ask. I noticed that there wasn't a variety of cultures on the field, if you catch my drift.
Different race of players and everything.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make this into a race issue. Don't get me wrong, I'm not. It was a great game. I loved it. I'm just wondering, does rugby not allow different cultures into the sport, or what's the deal there? How come there's not a variety of different type of people? You know what I mean? How come? What can you answer?
Well, there is a different variety of races that play rugby. I mean, if you look across the globe and everything, it's like a Fijian team and that. You'll see a nice variety and everything. When it comes to Wales, majority of the people living in Wales that play rugby are predominantly white anyway, but there are a couple of black players and so on, mixed race players. There are a variety there. There are some that were not available for that game because they were injured.
Oh, okay. And forgive me for asking. I'm just trying to, like I said, educate myself. I just watched one game. I didn't watch the other two. I'm just going based off of what I saw in that one game. So, to all the viewers, please forgive me. I'm just a stupid American trying to learn. That's just all it is.
Well, Oscar, I will say this. I mean, you'll see a bigger balance when you sit down and watch a England team play. You'll see a bigger balance when you watch a French team play. You'll see, it's like different teams now. They will have that mix of races of players and everything. So it's not really an issue of race in terms of rugby. But it's like who's available and who's on form, who's playing well. That's who gets chosen for the international games.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, Mike, I've only seen one game. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the other two. I'm only going based off of what I saw in that one game. I just saw that one game. There was just a predominantly dominated one culture, which
Hmm.
was white. I just wanted to ask if there's other cultures, but if there's other cultures, then hey, dope, dope. Like I said, I don't know much about rugby. I'm still trying to learn, so please forgive me.
It's alright, but I mean, you can't be expected to know about the different cultures in rugby after one game, especially when it's Wales against Scotland, which, to be fair, when it comes to cultures and everything, Wales and Scotland and Ireland as well predominantly have more of a white culture. That's just basically where we live, but there are
Okay.
different cultures now in the team as well.
Okay. All right. Cool. 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 All right. So now that we spoke a little bit about the Wales versus Scotland games, and
Right, we
you
got we gotta
analyzed.
get into the other games now.
Yeah. So now you need to educate me and bring me up to speed. What
Okay,
exactly happened?
okay, right. So the second game of the Six Nations was Ireland versus France. Now,
Okay.
this game was being played in Paris. The weather was extremely damp out there, so the ball was kind of slippery. And
Oh snap.
I'm not gonna lie, France, hell of a defense on them, hell of a defense,
Hmm.
and it was kind of a slow burning game until the final 10 minutes. That's when it really heated up, because on the
Oh snap.
70th minute, it was 12 points to 6 to Ireland, and that it was just going for penalty kicks. Now there was no tries at that point whatsoever.
Wait, hold on,
Then
hold on. So Ireland was ahead 12-6.
yes, Ireland was,
Okay. Okay.
and then a brilliant play by oh damn, I forgot his name already. I was just singing his praises when I was watching the rugby earlier. But what's got I forgot his name already. But this player, right? He's
Well,
a
don't be
problem.
ashamed to look it up on Google, man. By all means, Google is your friend. Look it up, man.
I am, but don't hold you on it. Right. Anyway, the French winger able to score a beautiful try, which was quickly converted, and all of a sudden, France are in the lead by 1 point.
Oh, wow. What amazing comeback.
And this was in the final 10 minutes as well. France's defence absolutely immense. There was no try scored against them, but in stoppage time, right, in overtime now, 80 minutes have gone. Ireland have got the ball. They're pressurising. They're pressurising. Bang! They chuck the ball out to Sexton, who is the number one kicker, and
Uh-huh.
he is able to kick a 45-meter drop goal that gives Ireland the win.
Get the fuck out of here. What?
I'm not lying, but I'm not lying.
Damn, bro. All right, so Ireland took the game last minute.
Yep, Ireland took the game in
Wow.
stoppage time.
Wow. That sounds like an amazing game. Man, I wish I would have watched that game, bro.
All right,
God.
here's the player, Teddy Thomas.
Teddy Tomer?
Well, if we were reading it, then we'd say Teddy Thomas, but the French pronunciation of it is Thomas.
Oh, okay. Teddy, okay. All right. Teddy Thomas. All right. All
He's
right.
he scored that try in the
Wow.
71st minute. It was converted in the 73rd minute, and then Sexton with the drop goal in the 80th minute. It was in stoppage time, and that gave Ireland the final point that they needed. In fact, it ended 15 points to 13 in Ireland's favour.
Wow. Wow. What a game, man. Congratulations to Ireland. I wish I really wish that my cable services allowed me to watch these two games. Man, unfortunately, you know what was on was soccer. Uh, the Premier Soccer League, so I wasn't able to really watch
No,
any of the rugby games.
this was last week's game. This was when you had to go to work.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay. Oh, all right, all right. So this was when I was at work. Okay. So, what two games did I miss today, or is there another game that I missed besides?
There was another game the following day on the Sunday, which I think you missed, which was England versus Italy.
England versus Italy.
England
Okay.
versus Italy, and this is the game that everyone expects to win, because no matter who Italy go against, you're expected to beat them, because they're not a bad team by any means of the sense. You know, they can hold their own against some of the teams in the world, but in this kind of competition, they are, you know, bottom tier team.
Okay. All right. So they're like the underdogs.
They are the
Basically, they're the
massive
underdogs.
underdogs. They
Okay.
they only came into the championship back in 2000, and I believe pretty much apart from maybe 3 years altogether, you know, 3 different seasons, they have finished last in every single one of them.
Damn. So, who won this game? I'm assuming England did, right? Considering England is the toughest team in the league right now.
England dominated this game. I mean,
Yeah.
the first half,
What was the score?
46 points to England, 15 to Italy.
Yeah. Ouch. Ouch.
There was 2 tries from Italy in the 19th and the 57th minute. Only one of those tries were converted, and there was a penalty that allowed Italy to earn a couple of points. At half time, though, it was 10 points to Italy, 17 points to England. So England pretty much scored 29 points in the second half.
Ouch.
Just
Jesus.
just showing the difference between the quality of England compared to Italy. I mean, Italy, they always
Yeah.
start off well. They're always able to contest the first half, but they never have the discipline or the patience to actually go all the way and see it through to the end, which allows most teams to just completely walk away with it.
So, in other words, they're able to start off strong, but Italy cannot capitalize toward the second half or end of the game, basically.
No, they really can't. And unfortunately for Italy, it's looking like once again it's going to be a tough season for them. They're going to be at the bottom once again unless they can pull something out of the bag. But given that they've played 2 games right now, and they've played England, and yesterday for the first game of the second round they played Ireland, and I'm just going to bring up the scoreboard by here. This game was an even bigger defeat than the England one.
Oh, Jesus. I'm scared to ask. How much did they lose by?
This game was 56 points to Ireland to 19 for Italy.
Ouch. Wow. So I'm assuming, okay, with these 2 really tough losses, I'm assuming, is Italy out of the tournament now?
Oh, they cannot win the league now. There is no chance of them. Well, there is a chance of them winning the league, but that means that England, Ireland, Wales, and pretty much all the other teams haven't got a win, which is impossible.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they have to take an L in order for Italy to even have a chance.
yeah, the old saying is once you lose your first 2 games in the Six Nations, you got no chance of winning the championship. And
Oh, wow.
unfortunately for Italy, they came up against 2 of the biggest teams straight away, and they suffered 2 big defeats as well. So even if they do manage to get a win, the likelihood is that they're still going to be in last place because of the amount of tries that's gone against them.
Wow. I'm sorry, Italy. Better luck next year.
Well, actually,
Wish you luck.
there is talks right now on trying to remove Italy from the Six Nations competition.
Oh, really? So they're not even trying to give them a chance, basically.
Well, they've had 18 years in the competition now, and majority of the time they finish in last. And there's another European team called Georgia who are higher ranked in the world right now, who are playing, they're
So in other
playing some
words,
decent rugby. They just want to, try and give Georgia a shot and see what happens. But there is
right?
talks
Okay.
of a playoff game between Italy and Georgia for the right of the Six Nations.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's not so much that they're trying to kick Italy out, it's more of a kind of a business aspect to it because they're seeing other countries that are playing a lot more of a dominant game in rugby and they're trying to give those nations a shot,
Well,
basically.
yeah, I mean Georgia, they're in the second tier of European rugby, but they are ranked higher in the world than Italy.
Wow. Okay.
So it's
Well,
kind of
that would
like,
make sense.
right, you got this European team by here that
Hmm.
technically, if you go by the world rankings, they are top six in Europe, so they should be in the highest tier of European rugby. And then you got Italy, who have been in the Europe, the highest tier for 18 seasons now, since 2000, and they have improved. I will give them that. They have improved over the years, but the way Georgia are playing right now, I mean, if they were to play against each other, it'd be a very even matchup. But I think Georgia might actually take that.
Well, hey, I mean, if Georgia is able to take it over Italy, then they have earned their right to play in the Six Nations tournament.
Yes, and now we move on to the sore subject of the weekend.
Oh, Jesus. And this is where it's gonna hurt you, right? Is this the one that's gonna hurt you?
Yep, England versus Wales.
Oh, here we go. All right, so the last time we spoke, you made a huge point of how England and Wales are in huge rivalry against each other. Not so much competition, but more of a rivalry. Like kind of like a bitter hatred in the sport against each other. Am I assuming correctly?
Uh, Pretty much, yeah. I mean, what's called, the players started fighting in the middle of the game early on.
Oh, the players started fighting, huh?
There was a bit of a
Wow.
scuffle. There was a bit of a scuffle. I'm not gonna
No,
lie.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch. I'm gonna have definitely have gonna have to search for the highlights to these games now. So, what exactly happened in this game, man? Because I'm hearing, and you told me that Wales got screwed out of a try, and now you're telling me that there was a scruffle. So, what exactly happened from beginning to end?
Okay, so the game started, and I'll give England their credit because it was a beautiful try they scored. They managed to start off well. England, they got over the game line. They got two quick tries. They didn't manage to convert the one, but they did convert the second. So they were 12-0 up. And then
Okay.
Wales started to respond. And we started to get back into the game. We were pressuring them. We were right on their try line. And then we had a nice little kick through. And in that clip I showed you, the ball bounced off the one player's knee. So that's allowed. Because,
Right.
what's it called,
And
if he
then
had
I'm
knocked it on.
assuming, and then what I'm assuming is the first player to actually touch down the ball, that team gets possession of it, right?
Well, here's the thing, right? This game, rugby, and the rules with scoring tries is that you got to have pressure on the ball as you're going across the line. I mean, there's discussions about control over the ball, but if the ball is on the ground and the player's hand is on the ball, that's pretty much a try. I
Okay.
mean, even the English experts now that were analysing the game said that that was a try. And even after the game, the post interviews now, the English coach was like, I mean, he was smiling obviously because England won,
Right.
but even he said, I mean, if if a guy sitting up there calling the match from a TV set, can make wrong decisions, what chance of the referees and everyone got? Which
Yeah,
is
I
true
mean,
in a point.
here's the thing, and the same thing kind of happens in the NFL in different ways. Is the thing is play coordinators and officials, whether we want to admit it or not, have a bias in the game. They may not come out straight out and say it, but they are rooting for a certain team. And
Well, what's called the TMO, he's not from England, he's not from Wales, he's from New Zealand. Now, when it comes
I
to
mean, that may be the case.
when it
That
comes
may
to
be the
rivalry,
case.
when it comes to rivalry as well, I will say this: I don't think rugby means more to any other nation in the Southern Hemisphere as much as it means to New Zealand. In the same way that rugby means more to Wales in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, I can clearly see that Wales was screwed out of a try. I can clearly see that. Whether he had control of the ball or not, as you said, the rules state that if you have pressure on the ball, that's a try. And
Well, if
they
his
called
hand
it as
if his hand is on the ball and the ball's on the ground, that's considered he's got control and he's got downward pressure on it, so that is a try. It may have bounced
right.
off him
That's what
straight
I'm
away,
saying.
but his hand was on the ball enough while it was on the floor to say, yeah, he had control over it for a try. Because there's been more questionable tries that have been given over the years compared to that one. The TMO, he was quick to make that decision as well. He didn't take his time with it. Pretty much, yeah, that was the try that pretty much meant that Wales had no choice but to come back, and we had to force the game. Which against impressive English defence as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, England defended like absolute animals. I'm not gonna lie, they were mighty in defence, but I mean, Wales would have changed tactics if that try had count. We wouldn't have been looking for the try. We would have been happy to kick over 3 points for all the penalties they were giving away.
The unfortunate thing about circumstances like this is that had these calls been legitimate or had passed, the game would have been games like these would have been a lot closer than what they ended with. You know what I mean? There would have been a lot more competition. And unfortunately, it's play calls like this that really make or break a game.
Well, do you want me to read you some of the statistics from this game?
Sure.
Right, so basically I'm going to go on meters gained, so how many meters each player makes now for the team.
Okay.
England managed to make 411 meters in the entire game. Wales managed to make 501.
Oh, wow.
The amount of tackles that were missed. England missed 23 tackles, Wales 18. When it came to tackles made, England with 188, Wales with a nice round 200 tackles made.
Right. So statistically, it shows that Wales, for the most part, were the more dominant force.
Yeah, England were clinical at the beginning. I don't get me wrong. I mean, England, they scored those two beautiful tries, and there's no denying that they were beautiful. But if the TMO called the decision correctly and not rushed it, that game would have been a lot different. Because when you look at the penalties conceded by year, England gave away 10 penalties to Wales's 2.
Right.
And I mean, looking at the what happened, everything, right? You can say anything in hindsight, but if Wales had got the try, we would have played that game a lot differently. Those penalties might not have been right. We're gonna try and push for the corner to get this try. those penalties might have been, alright, they're giving us a penalty, right, let's take these 3 points by you.
Right.
And
And that's exactly what I'm trying to sum up in my sentence when I said that play calls like this actually make or break a game, because like you said, with all the stats clearly show that Wales was clearly dominating the game, and had Wales got that try, it would not have affected Wales' game as much as it did. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, towards the end of the game, though, do you remember what Scotland were like, and missing, dropping the ball all the time, and pressured passes and everything, chucking the ball here and there. There was that type of urgency about Wales because they knew they needed a try to get back in the game. So there was mistakes made because they had to do something to get into the game, and unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to say it right now. I mean, with all those penalties that England conceded, as much as I would, as much as I rate some of these young players coming through, I honestly believe that if Lee Halfpenny was playing, because he had literally got a foot infection and was ruled out of the game 24 hours before the game kicked off.
Damn.
And
Yeah, so that's kind of like, not exactly, but that's kind of like my situation with Malcolm Butler on my team. You guys lost a great player that could have helped you in that game, right?
Well, I mean, we haven't seen anything from Patchell in terms of kicking, but what we've seen from a couple of the big kickers from Wales, we know they can kick those penalties over all day, because what we was actually missing there, we was missing Lee Halfpenny, we was missing our starting number 10, Dan Biggar, we was missing our second number 10, Reece Priestland, and we was reverting to our third number 10 choice, which was Patchell, who was the guy playing number 10. And
all right, so I see. So you were missing multiple starters, not just one.
Oh, we was missing 3 big kickers that could have made a difference. Dan Biggar is brilliant in the air, so if the ball goes high, he's able to jump up and he can take the ball quite well, actually. And the only one on the pitch that was able to do that was England's Mike Brown, who ended up with man of the match, and well deserved as well, I must say. But with the amount of people that Wales were missing, and the disallowed try and everything, I gotta look at this result by year, which ended 12-6 to England. It was still a very close game. If I was England, I'd be actually embarrassed by that scoreline.
Oh, of course, because you're the most dominant. You're supposedly the most dominant team in the league, and you just barely won a game, barely by one try and a conversion.
Yeah.
Against Wales, and
it was half
Wales,
strength.
like you, and it was half strength. So that just goes to show that had Wales had all their starters and gotten that try, the game may not have gone the way it would have.
Well, I think if that try was allowed, the way that Wales played in the second half, I mean, if that try had been allowed, the game would have been turned on its head, and Wales would have been able to kick the 3 points over, and it would have been
win the game.
Yeah, it would have been a different story, because we would have had to play differently, because we're only within a certain amount of points and everything. But
had Wales won the game, had they had all the magic cards on deck and won the game, how happy would you have been?
I would have been absolutely ecstatic, because basically what I was thinking of that before the game actually started, because obviously I'm not going to back England over Wales, and no matter how good England are, it's moronic for me to even back England over Wales whatsoever.
I mean, that's that goes to show, like, that's with any fan in their team. You know what I mean? Like, even if there was, like, in the NFL, if there was a team better than the Patriots, I still wouldn't root for them. I'd root for the Patriots because that's my team. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, with that though, I mean, I thought it would be a very close game, and it was. And to be honest, I thought Wales could just about pinch it because I hadn't seen England challenged. This was the first time they were challenged, and for 16 minutes of the game, they didn't put no points on the board.
So basically, like you said, Wales had a shot. Wales really had a shot, and it kind of gave England kind of shock treatment, basically.
Well, I think England, if they don't shape up, then their next game in 2 weeks' time against Scotland is gonna be an eye-opener. Because Wales were half strength, Scotland have just got a couple of their key players back who played very well today, so Scotland are pretty much back to full strength.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, so when Wales faced Scotland, they were not at full strength.
Well,
right?
what's called they were semi at full strength, but there was one of their key players who came on as a substitute because he hadn't long come back from injury. Whereas today's game, which we'll discuss now in a minute, he was the starting player and actually won man of the match as well. So.
Oh, okay. So there was a key player missing during the Wales-Scotland game.
Yeah, Greg Laidlaw. He's a vital part of the Scottish team, and I honestly think if he was on for most of the game, he could have made some stuff happen. He would have been a better kicker choice than Finn Russell. And Scotland, they need some of these big experienced players on the pitch to kind of move the game around, because they can see it a bit more clearly. It's kind of like Tom Brady. Like, if he's working with a load of new guys now in the NFL, he can kind of like, this is what you need to do, and I go over there and I can drop the ball over to you, and it's all good. He needs an experienced player to kind of guide the younger players through it.
Yeah,
if you get what I mean.
Rookies, because the whole thing with rookies is, I'm not saying that they're not pros, but at the same time, they're not experienced pros. You know what I mean? They don't have that experience with them, so they need training, and they need to go through exercises, and they need to practice the plays over and over and over again to actually master it and be ready to make that play when it counts.
And
so, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not gonna lie, Wales have come into the Six Nations and are with a lot of players who are new to the Six Nations. So they are looking. Joe, I'm going to be honest, right? They're actually looking very decent. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to the World Cup next year, because all these players are going to do is get more experience and grow as a team, which I'm looking forward for. But at this moment in time, England, they got the win. Nothing I can do about it. TMO made a BS call, screwed us over. I don't like the TMOs anymore. I think they should get rid of them. But I'm not gonna lie, England marginally were more clinical when they were on attack. So I mean, even with the try, and we wouldn't have beaten England on scoreline. So it is what it is.
I really have to say that I respect the fact that you're a big fan of Wales, but you're not a biased fan of Wales. And what I mean by that is, you're not going to make, just like I don't make excuses, I give credit where credit is due. You do the same thing. And I think that's why we work so well together, is that we're the same type of fans, just different sports. And you just now acknowledge that even if you got that try, England might have still taken the game regardless. So for that, you not being biased, I gotta say, man, all props to you, bro. That's a real fan right there.
Oh yeah, it takes a fan to actually show appreciation when their side loses, especially when it's against their worst enemies. I mean, exactly. England is. I go into every Six Nation with this kind of aspect. I don't care if we win the championship as long as we beat the English. That is literally every single Welsh person in Wales, and literally every single Six Nations are like, oh yes, Grand Slam. No, we don't care. We just want to beat England. That's it. That's all we want to do.
All right. Well,
Now,
let's get into the game that happened today, man. Is that the next game on the list?
yep. And this game,
All
I
right.
literally, just before we started this podcast, I literally just finished watching. I recorded my reaction to it as well, so be on the lookout for that in the future. And what an absolute game! Straight away, out the bat, France versus Scotland, Murrayfield. You can hear the bagpipes playing. You can just sense this occasion. Both teams needing to come back. Both teams needing a win to stay in the championship. Both teams looking to pull their hearts and souls into this game, and it didn't fail. It did not fail, because straight away, bang, second minute, Teddy, good old Teddy once again. He go over the try line.
Okay. So there was right off the bat there was a try.
Right off
the bat.
Right off the bat.
Damn.
Right off the bat.
Okay. Who scored the tie? Who scored the try?
Straight away, Teddy Thomas. Second minute.
Okay.
Teddy Thomas go over it straight away.
What team? Sorry, what team is he with?
He is with France.
France. Okay, so France scored. So France scored a try right off the bat.
Yep.
Okay.
And then is converted. Then I can't pronounce his name. I'm not French. I mean that's. I'm reading it, but I can't pronounce it. Yeah, but yeah, it was converted anyway. So they went 7-0 up straight away, and then they had a penalty in the 9th minute and went 10-0 up. So the first 10 minutes, France are 10-0 up.
Oh wow. So France is 10-0.
10-0
Right.
after the first 10 minutes, and I was starting to worry for Scotland a little bit, but then 2 minutes later, on the 12th minute, bang, Scotland get over for a try and it's converted. They're back in the game. It's 10-7, and then France go back and they get another try.
So, and then 10 to 12 minutes later, Scotland. It's Scotland, right, that they're facing? Or Ireland?
Yeah, Scotland.
Scotland. And then 12 minutes later, Scotland responds and scores a try and a conversion.
Oh no, this was 2 minutes later.
Oh, 2 minutes. Oh, goddamn.
Yeah.
So 2 minutes. So wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. So 2 minutes, just only 2 minutes after France scores a try and a conversion,
And a penalty.
Scotland responds.
Yeah, basically this is what happened. Right, the second minute, Teddy Thomas scored the try, and it was converted by Maxine Machiod. I apologize if I butchered that name, but it's how I'm reading it. And then France get a penalty, so they score the penalty and go 10-0 up by the 10th minute. And then on the 12th minute of the game, Sean Maitland gets over and scores a try for Scotland, converted by Greg
Jesus.
Laidlaw. And then 13 minutes after that, Teddy Thomas goes over again for a second try, which was
Wait. Hold on. So they score 2 tries?
yeah, France basically, right, they went over for a try and it was converted, so at this point it's 17-7 to France.
Oh my god.
And literally 4 minutes later, Hugh Jones for Scotland gets over and scores a try for Scotland.
Oh. Okay, so we're basically playing any money mo at this point with the tries, right? Because I guess France scores and converts.
Yep.
Scotland scores and converts.
Yep.
France scores and converts again, and then Scotland scores and converts again.
Literally, it went back and forth with the tries, and 2 tries apiece for each team. And then on the final minute of the first half, France get a penalty and they go in at half time, and it's 14-20 to France. but the game was very fast paced, very physical, high octane offense from both teams, and we was rewarded with 4 brilliant tries.
Oh wow! So France took the game at the end of it.
Nope, this was only the first half. The second half.
Oh wow! What? Wait, hold on. So this all happened during the first half.
Yep, in the first half.
Oh Jesus. Okay. All right. So, goddamn. All right. So what happened in the second half?
Well, straight away, to respond to France getting their penalty straight away, Scotland get a penalty in the 43rd minute and kick it over to move 17-20, and they're still 3 points behind. And then 3 minutes after Scotland's penalty, France get a penalty and put it over. So it's 23-17 to France. And then literally 2 minutes after that, Scotland get a penalty and kick it over. And then it's 20-23 to France.
Bro.
And then, the game kind of slows down a little bit for about 10 minutes. And then, France get another penalty and they put it over. It's 26-20. And there's 20 minutes to go. And Scotland then basically started putting it up a gear. They were knocking on the door of the defence. But France, they just kept giving away stupid penalties, and Scotland were just able to knock them over time after time. So the 60th minute, they gave away a penalty and Scotland knocked that over. 4 minutes later, France gave away another penalty and Scotland knocked it over. 6 minutes after that,
Jesus.
France gives away another penalty and knocks it and Scotland knock it over. This was for the lead now, and
oh my God! Are they gonna get it?
And on the 76th minute, France give away another penalty, which allows Scotland to knock it over for the final scoreline of 32-26 for Scotland to get the win.
Oh, that's unbelievable! That is unbelievable.
I mean,
really unbelievable.
I'm not being funny, but in terms of proper contest now, this game so far is my game of the Six Nations so far.
Wow.
Because it was back and forth.
Scotland at last minute.
No, Scotland, they took the lead in the 70th minute. So with 10 minutes to go, Scotland took the lead. And every time France kept pushing forward, France looked like they were going to score. They were going for it. But they kept giving away penalties. And then Scotland were able to just capitalise on it. They weren't rushing the game like they did against Wales. They were being patient because they knew France would give away those penalties.
Right.
And basically, when that final penalty went over, the only way back for France was a converted try. And unfortunately for France, even though they were very close, they just couldn't keep the discipline enough to not give away penalties, and they lost it.
Damn. Wow. What a game, man. Just hearing it, man. Just hearing it. I love big competition games like that where things are so close because it's so intense and it gets your blood boiling. You know what I mean? And I really wish that I was able to watch that game, man, because that seems like a very intense game right there.
Yeah, this was today's game. This was. So, yeah, I'm now going to take people through the table of the championship right now. So, after the first 2 games, 2 played, 2 wins, and 1 bonus point for scoring more than 4 tries in the game, we have Ireland moving ahead in first place.
Wow.
And in second place, we have England on the same points but behind Ireland on goal difference.
Okay, so is Ireland and England gonna end up playing?
Yes, Ireland and England are the very last game of the championship.
Oh my God. I really hope that I'm able to watch that. When is it? When does it take place?
I believe the last game of the championship is on the 17th of March. We got a 2-week break now before the next game. And it's going to be interesting because we got England versus Scotland and we got Wales versus Ireland.
Oh my God. Okay. So, question. So you say Wales is still in the tournament, so they still have a chance to come back and win it, right? Wales
Yes,
does?
yes, we do. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing, right? We can't control what happens to England now because we've already played them.
Right.
But what Wales can do is win every single game and put pressure on England to win every single game of theirs. And
Oh,
I can assure you that Ireland, Scotland, and France, the three teams that England have still got to play, they are gonna throw everything at England because they do not want England to make history and be the first team ever to win 3 back-to-back Six Nation championships.
I'm pretty sure nobody wants that. Oh my God.
So
All right.
right now we got Ireland and England both on 9 points, but Ireland ahead on try difference and everything. Wales are 3 points behind them on 6 points. Scotland, with that win today, go on 4 points. And France, they've lost 2 games, but they managed to get 2 of the losing bonus points by being within 7 points of the winning team. So they're on 2 points, and then we got Italy, and it's no surprise, last with nothing.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
So
Well, we know where everybody stands, and we know when the championship's going to take place. So, goddamn. One hell of a couple of weeks in sports, man. Jesus. Wow.
I tell you what, it's
I'm just,
bubbling up. It's bubbling up. The Six Nations are starting to bubble. It's sizzling.
yeah. Yeah. The competition is definitely on now. Oh my God. All right. So, have we covered all the games, or is there still one more?
That's all the Six Nation games covered. I don't
And we
think.
covered the Super Bowl, and we covered all the stories about my team that's taking place. Um, Philadelphia, the Eagles had their Super Bowl parade, and it seems like, oh, I don't know if you know, but just to close this, one thing that we didn't talk about was Philadelphia when they won the Super Bowl. That city, they went in riots. I don't know why. You would think that everybody would be celebrating, but their type of celebration is committing riots, and
Oh damn!
there was fires and all types of shit. So they went absolutely insane, man. But yeah, Philadelphia won the Super Bowl, man. We covered all that. They had their Super Bowl parade. New England lost, and New England is starting to make changes. So we'll see what happens next year in the NFL. But right now, it's rugby season, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the next podcast.
And England, get ready. The Dragons are coming. The Dragons are coming.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you again for doing this second episode, man. It's always a pleasure talking sports with you, man. It's really dope.
It's all good, bud. It's all good.
And in case you viewers don't know, we are two YouTubers from opposite sides of the globe. My YouTube channel is Eternal316. Go ahead and look me up, subscribe, hit that notification bell button. Mike, you want to plug in your YouTube channel real quick, man? Introduce yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, proudly presenting to you right now the number one Welshman in all the world. I mean, there's only a couple of Welshmen anyway, but it's all good. And this man's name is Ivor Reacts. Go search him up. Absolute G.
Ivor Reacts. IVOR Reacts. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, notification bell button. And let's close this out, man. Second episode of Menace Sports Hub. And we're going to see you guys next episode.
Don't forget to hit us up on our social media for further sporting topics that may be discussed in the future.
Oh, yes. Make sure you hit us up on Twitter. My Twitter is @Ryan Mannion, MANNION 7. So make sure you hit me up on Twitter. You'll find me, Demon Killer Scorp, aka Eternal316. Ivor.
And you can hit me up. And you can hit me up on Twitter at Ivor Reacts. Once again, it's IVOR Reacts. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Eternal, it was great talking to you about sports again, and we shall catch you in the next podcast. Peace.